So to continue, no, the next session, we'll be talking about the sixth plenary session. To continue the afternoon session for the second Philippine HR Assembly, Oliver Rickelman, an associate fellow in people management, a certified total reward specialist, doctor in business administration, a chartered professional in human resources, strategic HR business partner, executive coach, mentor, data analyst, and to discuss turning stress into an HR strength, fellow HR and organizational leaders, we have Mr. Oliver Rickelman. Good afternoon to you.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you all hear me? Can you all
Yes,
hear me?
loud
I
and
mean,
clear. Perfectly
may
clear.
kabaliktad pa doon. All
Mm-mm.
right. Good afternoon, and I hope I still have you online. Uh, Wait a minute. I can't really hear myself. Jess, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. So perhaps I could start with my presentation.
Yes, please. So again, this topic is actually very important, no? Turning stress into an HR strength. So from this session, we'll be able to divert and convert even stress, no, to strengths, especially now that we're in the middle of the pandemic situation, which is actually very hard, not just for leaders, but also for um, individual employees and even managers, no, walang pinipili yung stress na ito sa pandemic na ito.
All right. Can you see the presentation now?
Yeah, it's yes, there we go.
Okay. So as mentioned by Jester, Jess, thank you also for introducing me well. Stress is everywhere. We all agree that, right? And in fact, even more so at the start of COVID, the ECQ, it was even more stressful than it is now. I mean, right now we have already adjusted to the stress when, unlike when we started the very first time with the ECQ. So, as mentioned earlier, I'm a total rewards specialist from Asian Institute of Total Rewards, and have just recently completed my chartered uh, professional in HR. So, stress is, well, somewhat both medical condition and psychological. That being said, psychological, so it's already labeled as medical condition, meaning what we think can be manifested physiologically and behaviorally. However, stress, although it is a medical condition, stress has no exact medicine. There is no exact prescription that will cure stress, simply because stress depends on how we perceive it, how we look at it. Everything starts in our brain. How we behave, how we react on an event depends on how we perceive it. So, to illustrate, an individual, when it's characterized by perception of one's focus or loss of focus, efficacy, control, and effective disposition. So stresses or stressors comes from different places, come from yourself, from people around you, and environment in general. Now there are two kinds of stress: the eustress and then the distress. Eustress is a positive stress, while distress is a negative stress. Now, that being positive, can help you achieve many things. Now, you'll be surprised because distress can also help you achieve many things. You'll wonder, how is that? I mean, eustress is a positive stress, while distress is negative, and how can they both achieve a certain level of performance? Well, if you look at it this way, stress is a stressor that is positive, meaning you're willing to accept. That is something that you have looked forward to have. No, we all need a certain level of eustress to even function, because without it, we would cease to exist or function at all. In fact, when we look at people who are always at home watching TV and playing video games, inside our mind, that person, the way we label that person or assess that person, in our own assessment, is demotivated, right? But in fact, if you're going to ask that person, he's highly motivated, and because to him that is his eustress. That's what motivates him. To him, he finds comfort in what he's doing, contrary to what you are doing currently. So this stress is different, however, although we may share some similarities because we may have similar experiences in the past. For example, loss of a good friend, loss of a relative, car accident, or anything in particular that we do not want to have at the moment. Who would want to have a car accident? No one, right? Even at traffic, a simple traffic could already cause us a stress. Now, that in itself is a distress or distress. So the way we respond to a negative stress response is that increased heart rate, blood pressure, rapid breathing, increased sweating, a sudden rush of strength, slowed digestion, dilated pills. Now, if you look at all this long list, what you will find common with having a positive stress is the increased heart rate and blood pressure. Yes, it's true. In fact, rapid breathing. You know, if you are too excited, your heart rate is actually on its highest, and you have that similar rapid breathing, and you also have increased sweating. But except for few other common few other items which are not common between positive and negative. So, as mentioned earlier, the negative personal stressors and the positive personal stressors. Now, this is what I meant earlier. If you're going to take a look at both stressors, both negative and positive, you will notice that they are both helpful in helping you achieve the highest level of your performance. But remember, I said there are commonalities in terms of stress factors. Yes, you're looking at the same fatigue, boredom, no activity, sleep. However, it is not as stressful as it is in negative stress that you can find. Now, you will find on the negative stress, it's excessive. There's the high blood pressure, fatigue, anxiety, resistance, exhaustion, loss of control, panic, burnout, and depression, and all others that you could count off. Even if they may share same commonalities, but these commonalities are good for us physically. You know, it's good to have that sudden burst of blood pressure, right? Because it kicks in your spleen, which will produce um, adrenaline rush, and that adrenaline rush is good for us because it keeps us upbeat. You know, it actually helps in growth of your hair, growth of your skin, and all other things that's good for your body. Having that adrenaline rush is good, but sometimes when you have it too much of it on its highest peak, highest level, and it stays there, this is when adrenaline rush becomes not so helpful at all because your spleen will also have to catch up in producing insulin, right? So it is paradoxical because both motivation, negative and positive stressors, will help you achieve a certain level of your performance. Now, here's the difference between positive and negative stress. Positive stress is motivating. There. It's stressful, but it's motivating. It makes you want to go on further, and you want to go on, and it won't even want to finish it. Unlike in negative stress, it causes you anxiety. Yes, you may want to go on, but at certain level, once that goal has already been achieved, you don't want that to happen anymore. You suddenly give up. You don't want the same or similar experience that it's related to that event, right? It's not the same as positive stress because it's motivational. It wants you to keep on going. Now, positive stress, however, is short term. Short term because it's something that you build inside your mind, that you create as a dream, as an ambition. And most of the time, ambition is oftentimes superseded by another ambition, right? Perhaps siguro when you're watching TV a few hours ago, you want to be an actor, you want to proceed, you want to pursue a small role in acting. Now you also have another ambition when the moment you get into the plot of the movie about about banks and a banker, then perhaps this time you would consider shifting career from the current that you have into a banker. So that is short term simply because one ambition overlaps the other. See, one motivation will always overlap another motivation. Now, although negative stress is shorter than the positive stress because of the feeling of satisfying yourself. I mean, satisfaction in terms of achieving it. You're on the run, you're on the pressure to achieve that, and then you don't want that anymore. So, in terms of perception, positive stress helps you perceive it to be a coping ability. I mean, your self starts to develop the coping ability that will make you capable into that positive stress, that will help you survive in that positive stress. And of course, there's a feeling of excitement, so you just want to continue and continue with your motivation. Now, I mentioned earlier, it's paradoxical in nature. Paradoxical in nature because both good and bad is actually good for you and will help you uh, achieve and help you in your highest performance. Now, as paradoxical as it is, it's like choosing between a red pill and a blue pill. Now, we need stress in our lives. Yes, we do, because if you live a meaningful life, you are actually stressed. But that stress is motivational and is accepting or accepted. Accept that kind of motivation and you chose that kind of motivation. So therefore, you chose that kind of stress. Unlike on the distress, it's somewhat passed on to you. It could be because of your work or coming from your boss. So of course, second paradox is the way you perceive it. Because you do not want to accept it, it become distressful for you. It's because of the way you perceive it, right? But what if you change your perception and make that distress, turn that distress into something motivational? So people who believe stress is helpful have less depression, more satisfaction, more energy, less health problems, more happiness, less overwhelm, more confidence, and more meaning in life. Simply because they accept the stress as it is. And because they know that it's not going to last forever. It is just a short-term stressor. So people who thought stress was helpful had the lowest risk of dying at all. So this is the best part, right? So that's a secret in living longer in this in this digital age. I mean, so but then what makes stress dangerous? It's the stress plus belief that it's harmful. So therefore, you have to take out that idea, that portion that it is harmful. So as I tried to explain earlier, a stressful event is an stressor. So depends on individual's appraisal or assessment on a particular event. And your body, psychologically, what your mind perceives, your body also follow. So there is now the physiological effects would rather follow through, depends on how you perceive it. So the more negative it is, the higher the negative physiological effects. But the more accepting you are in terms of the positive stress, or instead in terms of stressors, turning it into positive, the lower the physiological effect, and what remains with you are the good ones instead. So the key here is changing the way we think about an event. I know it's difficult to find something positive about a car accident, right? It's difficult because, if you leave out of it, of the car accident, you're looking at a broken car. And a wreck and a broken car would mean that it will cost you a fortune. So it's kind of difficult to convince everybody, even I myself, to convince myself to think positively and to change distress into a you stress, is something that I cannot find mastery about, right? It is even careless or reckless of me to advise all of you to try to think positive all the time. However, here's what I need. Here's what I can advise you, and here's what we need to do. It's okay to wallow into that distress, but make it shorter as soon as possible. As much as possible, the shorter the distress is, the better for you, or the easier for you to shift from being negative to changing your perception into something positive. It's okay to mourn for the moment because of something that you lost. It is okay to mourn for losing the job interview, but that doesn't mean that you have to change everything the whole time or for the rest of your life. I remember just a few days back, a friend just posted, should she change from being good to somewhat being nasty because she felt that a lot of people takes her for granted? And immediately said, no, no, never. I mean, never change the good in you. It took you a lot of time to find the good in yourself. So why suddenly change it and let go of that goodness in you, right? But what you needed to do, however, is that When something bad happens to you, then you need to act accordingly. Act accordingly and act as necessary as possible. But make that accordingly actions shorter as possible. Okay, make it shorter so that it will be easier for you to shift from being negative to positive. Now, one of the many things that you should concentrate into also is looking at your strengths rather than your weaknesses. It's okay to have a set of weaknesses because it means that there is a room for you to develop yourself and grow yourself into. But then when you are in a position wherein you are swimming in a place of your weaknesses, then you cannot find your strength. What you needed to do is to look for why are you doing that? Why are you in that event? Because you see, you need to find meaning in what you are doing. So, example, a job interview. Uh, one of the many things that's going to be asked from you is your strengths and weaknesses, right? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? So, as you focus on your strength, and you will be asked for for your weaknesses, try to pair it also with the things that you are doing to sustain or to develop yourself in those set of weaknesses by trying to find the meaning of why you are doing those. So if you're one of your weaknesses is facing the public, so identify what are you doing right now, and then answer and follow it up with the meaning. Why are you doing that? Because someday, one day, perhaps you're looking at the future wherein you will be a trainer, a presenter, or maybe a manager. A manager does a lot of presentations in a meeting. So this is how you change a bad experience to a good experience by first finding its meaning, and you can find its meaning by changing your mindset from being negative. And then third, you need to concentrate on your strength. And then when you look at your weaknesses, you need to identify the solutions for those. So here's an example of the list of strengths and weaknesses. Now here's another tip for stress management, tips and tricks. But I'm not suggesting that this is something that's going to be applicable for everyone. It depends on you, on how you're going to manage yourself. However, since that we're discussing stress, so I might as well give you some few tips. All right. As I mentioned, identify what's causing the stress. Second, talk to your loved ones to help yourself out, and to help them out in identifying those stress and resolving those. Because if those stress is related or connected to somebody in the household, then that is something that can be discussed. If this is at work, then find ways to discuss those stressors. Now, third, simplify your life by shortening your to-do list and learning to say no. Now, our life in a day requires us to make a long list of the things that we're going to do, right? I do that myself, and I've been doing that for the longest time. But as you do your to-do list for the following day, you can write as many to-do lists as possible as you want. But when you start your day, on the next morning, see to it that you're only going to work on what you can do for the entire day, and let go of the things that you cannot do. You can either put them on the subsequent days to follow, or you can just crush them at all. What's important here is that when you do your to-do list, it gives you a sense of achievement. That's the very reason why we're doing to-do list. Now, fourth is quiet your mind. Now, quiet your mind doesn't have to enroll yourself in a yoga or go to a gym. In fact, you can find your peace by reading, by listening to radio. As ironic as this may sound to you, or as weird as this may sound to you, I find my peace when the TV is on. Yes. So when my Netflix is on, I don't even mind what's showing. I just at random just pick anything. More so in YouTube, I just find anything that's either helpful or not helpful, as long as they're interesting to me. That to me, I find my peace there. As I listen, as I watch, then I get to learn something as well. Now, fifth is find time to do something you enjoy. Uh, Hobbies these days are a bit expensive because you need to maintain a set of well, a set of collection, for lack of a better term, and of course a set of experience as well. Let's say, for example, your hobby is playing golf. Golf is going to be it's a little bit costly if you're going to collect miniatures, that itself is also costly. But there are also other hobbies that will not cost you that much. Well, uso ngayon is plantito and plantita. Perhaps that is something that you can explore, right? But instead of concentrating on plants, then maybe you can change it to vegetable farm or vegetable garden. So you have double achievement in your life. You're addressing your boredom to having a new set of hobbies. Then at the same time you're eating your hobbies, and you get to enjoy it even more. So coping techniques at the time of distress. Some would say distraction. Distraction is when you divert yourself when you divert your attention away from the event. Although this may not be that helpful, but perhaps it could be helpful, especially when you try to snub people, the people stressors that's causing you so much stress. Catharsis, the same. We're expressing emotions because it's good rather than just suppressing it. Now, situation redefinition, again, the perception, you need to redefine the situation that you are in. And then the direction, maintain the direction that you are in from the very first time, from the very beginning of your day, or even before you started your day like last night. Then having a direction will also help you in coping up with the stress. And acceptance, if that is something that cannot be redone, or that is something that had to be let go, then you have no choice but to accept it, that you cannot change that event anymore. Oh, this is what I meant earlier also by mourning, making your mourning short. Mourn as much as you can, but make it short, as much as possible. Then social support. You see, social support is something that you can just solicit from outside without giving something back. So this means that you yourself should be quick to identify when someone is in distress, and you should be quick also to extend social support, so that in that way you also get the same from the crowd that you are in, or from the group that you are in. Now, religious source, um, there's a big difference between what we call in psychology religionizing, or when you put so much religion into a distress, right? Like let's say your girlfriend or your boyfriend broke up with you, and then your friend will tell you, maybe it's God's way of that's good. I mean, it keeps your motivation. I mean, we are all Christians here, so I suppose that it's also good in some ways. But then you have to that the stress will only just reappear. When that reappears, it's going to be even heavier for you to carry. So what you needed to do is to identify that stress, again, identify it, and have the catharsis, have the right emotions, because it will reduce the tension and your tensive feelings, a feeling of frustration. But then at the same time, when you are going to have to find that motivation, then perhaps you can have that religious resource. But then, just the same, always identify it, address it properly, and have the right emotions to it. Okay, and last is proactive coping. Proactive coping can come from different forms, different places. It can be in different approaches as well. You can start singing, you can start other things. But you see, if you are in human resources, now remember, by the way, our topic here is that how can you change, how can you use stress and convert them into something useful in HR. Now, proactive coping is fine as long as you know the meaning of what you're doing. Remember that being an HR, if you are in HR, you are also a human being. So we cannot discount the fact or take out the fact that you can be stressed sometimes. So a mindset of seeing the good in a stress is one way of coping up in a stress. In human resources, I think we all know this, that we are being asked or labeled that we are jack of all trades. Yes, and it's true, right? We're this, we're that, we're everything in the organization. And when stress comes in, starts to kick in, uh, you cannot immediately identify how are you going to react or redirect your emotions away from it, simply because you're caught up in that emotion that you are in, right? You notice yun, pagka nainis tayo sa isang bagay because we're still doing something good, and yet that something good is not enough for someone, then we react to that we react to that feedback, it just destroys and ruins the whole picture. Then your whole day is somewhat not in good mood already. So what you needed to do here is to just isolate that small feedback from what you're doing, and then always maintain the goodness that you saw from the very start that you started your event or you started whatever you're doing. Now, I would like to share with you what I learned from Simon Sinek. I'm not sure if all of us have heard of Simon Sinek, but Simon Sinek has been the next best thing, the next big thing rather, in terms of people theory or people management. So he would when he started with a book, Start with Why, right? The what is, what are you doing, how are you going to do it, and why are you doing it. So if we are in human resources, if especially right now of pandemic, and what you are doing is coordinating schedules for those who can be on work from home and those who cannot be who work from home, but yet at the same time maintaining ensuring the lesser impact of infection should there be any infection in your office. So how, right? So you identify the how. How are you going to do that? Okay, shift from this shift A, shift B will take these dates, shift B will take that date, and then so on. Now, why? Why is because you do not want everybody to get infected with COVID-19 virus. Because if one of them gets infected, it's not just them, your employees, but also their family. So isn't that a noble reason why you're doing it? Then that is your why. To further on with Simon Sinek, I grabbed this from his recent talk. I think it was 5 or 6 months ago. His 10 rules for success. One is break the rules, adapting, learn to adapt and overcome. We are now in a situation. All of us are now are in a situation where rules may not matter that much because we have to act quicker. We need to act quickly, and we have to be quicker than we were before. Now, second is to train your mind to see opportunity rather than pressure. So when you are in a situation right now that you felt pressure and stress is starting to come up, to come in, consider that as a training on for your mind, or yes, training for your mind. It's like going to the gym, right? When you lift a dumbbell, it adds stress on your biceps. By the time you get home, you're quite tired. So similar with train your mind. If you're going to condition yourself, having that break the rules, then first, a second to that is train your mind that you're going to have to see the opportunity in every pressure. Now, third is be patient, but as you sit there patiently, be also quick to identify what you need to do. Fourth is be accountable. You cannot just be responsible and enjoy the perks that goes with it. Be ready, because in every position that we are in comes accountability. You cannot just simply pass on a simple mistake to somebody else because that adds pressure on you and you find this very stressful. No, you can't. You have to be responsible and accountable. Five is, of course, outdo yourself all the time. What you've learned today is something that the mistakes that you made today is something that will teach you how you can be better for tomorrow. Now, six, stock the deck. Choose the best that supports you and let go of the things that doesn't support you at all. Right? That's one way of identifying positive stressors against negative stressors. Now, seventh is to speak last. When we are whenever we find ourselves in a position that we have to continue defending our ideas, our opinion against someone else, all the more that we get stressed, right? Have you experienced that? I experienced it myself. Whenever I'm in a situation where you have to debate and argue, I feel that it's adding up to stress the more I speak. So learn to speak last. Just to absorb, think about it, train your mind. After all, you have stuck all your deck, and then speak last. Now, be authentic. When you find your why, always be authentic. Communicate what's in your mind and what you like to do best. If that is something that you do not like to do, then find the likeness in it. Remember, always find the good in everything that you do. Number 9 is find your passion. Be passionate about something. If helping people is your passion, then then shelling few hundreds won't be a problem, right? Then, of course, lastly, always start with why. So, with that being said, I hope I was able to help you guys. I'm in human resources for the past 20 years now, and being in HR, I could relate to everybody whenever they say that they're so stressed. Somehow, if if you could start training your mind in looking for opportunities in every situations that you are in, then perhaps it will be quicker for you to shift the negative stressors to positive stressors. Now remember, both stressors will always help you achieve your performance. It will help you achieve the best in you. But the only problem with negative stressors, there are too much physiological effects to carry. It's not the same with having a positive stressor. With that being said, a pleasant afternoon, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oliver, for that good reminder, no? Again, sabi nga niya, having the benefit of yung sa stress, no? Kasi we often hear about the negative impact of stress, no? How it can raise blood pressure, how it can interfere with sleep, no? Increase anxiety levels, and even damage the brain or even damage our health, no? So it's true that stress can have a negative impact on our health, no? So we all need to find ways to decompress, release tension, and activate our relaxation response. No, kasi nga, stress is not that all bad. No, so are we right to worry each time we get stressed? No, what if we just we have overemphasized the negative impact of stress? So this is kind of an unpopular question. No, since we have this topic turning stress into an recharge strength. So personally, psychologically, what do you think are the positive effects of stress, Oliver?
Like I said, it also hello, yes. Can you hear me,
Yeah,
Jess?
yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. So as I presented, both stresses are actually good for you to achieve your goals. It pushes you the performance. What makes it different from each other is the set of physiological effects, because negative has more physiological effects to carry, comparing that to positive stress. Now, what you needed to do here is train your mind, condition your mind to find in looking for that good in every situation that you are in. No, I never said that you have to be like a bipolar person or somewhat mentally challenged, that when you are in a car accident or when you lose your car because of car napping, you can just simply be happy about it. I mean, right? That's just not the right reaction. In fact, there's the catharsis. Catharsis meaning you have to react appropriately. You have to feel sad and you have to worry because your car got carnapped and then you need to buy a new one, right? Or maybe you run into something and everything got broken and there's something that you have to spend for because repairs are expensive. But you have to train your mind that you do not wallow into that depression or into that negative stress. You have to train your mind to quickly find an opportunity in that situation so you can immediately get out of that depression situation. Whenever we feel depressed, it's simply because we have a set of negative stressors that we cannot uh, get away from. Then we call that depression, right? One of the many things is, for example, not making it on the promotion, missing out a promotion because someone else got recognized and then not you, and you are carrying that burden. We have been carrying that for the past months. The promotion just happened in January, and what is it now? It's now November, and you're still carrying it with you, and you still feel depressed after how many months? So those are negative stressors that are not helping you out. But you'll be surprised because as you swim into that depression of not getting your promotion, you are still trying your best, right? You're still trying your best. You're still there to prove to your boss that you deserve the promotion. And over the past months, you're still performing well for different reasons. Maybe one of them is to prove to your boss that you deserve the promotion rather than the counterpart. But you see, it's so negative that since January to present, you are wallowing and swimming in depression, and those are negative stress. It may give you the same impact of a positive stress, but the only difference is that this one is so heavy to carry, and the positive stress is easier to carry around. And of course, you will find yourself even more motivational, inspiring, right?
Ayun. So
So
those are, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, kasi common sa HR yun eh, yung we don't feel recognized, we don't feel being promoted because we're not promoted, we're not recognized. It's a thankless job. Uh, Pagka nag-organize ka ng mobilization for your employees, finance will ask you too many questions, why so expensive? Then audit will ask you, why did you spend that much when the budget is this? So you are stuck between finance and audit. No? Finance doesn't want you to spend. Audit wants you to spend because it's been budgeted. And then you have the employees not happy with you kasi the mobilization you got is not air conditioned because you're trying to get the advice of finance. You know? So it's I understand that. Again, just look for the why you are doing this, so that it will help you out. It will help you out in your transition as you train your mind to look for good in the event that you are in.
Ayan, sabi nga ni John Moore, no? Thank you for the share, sir. Sobrang appreciate for me as a student na nakakaranas ng stress during academics, no? So, Oliver is actually a father, no? So, can you tell the audience kung paano mo ngayon sinusupport, no? Lalo na yung mga anak natin na nag-aaral, no? Remotely. So, lalo na maraming stressors yan eh sa mga estudyante. So, how do you help, no, your kids um, go along dito sa situation na 'to?
It's so funny because as I do this talk, I'm actually now here in Cebu, and just this morning, while preparing for my time, I was helping out my not helping out. I mean, I'm trying to listen to their online classes and giving them reminders on what to do and this and that. So I get to miss some parts, and since this week Monday, because I arrived in Sunday, I always tell them that I know that what they're telling me is true and that I believe them. So whenever I ask them questions if they've done their work and they said yes, and then I ask again what they did, what they do, and then they'll tell me anything, then I'll end it with I believe you. I believe you. I know you will make it. And then I give them also sort of as a parent, no, a safety net. I always tell them that I want you to be the best, but I want you to be the best that you can do, not to be the best in your class. I want you to be the best that you can do, not the best in your classroom, not to be the best student, but the best that you can do. So do your best. And I
Yun, that
believe you. I always tell them that I believe you. Whatever it is, I believe you. Just this morning, nag-aaway nga because they're twins, no, boy and girl. It's kind of difficult. It's really a challenge having a boy and girl at the same age, 7 years old. So when one complains and the other explains, I also tell them the same. I believe you that you are complaining. I believe you that you're explaining to me a very reasonable excuse. Kind of difficult, you know. And then not only that, when you go to work, it's the same situation, right? Your boss may not be happy. While all the employees are happy, all employees are happy. Your boss may not be happy, or maybe your peers. So just focus on the people who cannot appreciate you.
yun, that is very true and correct, no. In my previous engagement, I think that was last Sunday, no, sabi ko nga, sabi ng iba din, no, trust is actually one way of supporting them. So trust may be a challenge, but actually trusting them is also one way of supporting them. So we have one
Mm.
question here. I think he is a student from Chosen Ion. No? Hi, sir. How about if your stress results for you to lose your self-esteem or self-confidence? So how can we approach it if it is on how we perceive it?
Oh, the moment that you have identified that the stress is causing you to be less confident, then let go of it, right? Now, if that is something that you cannot let go, if that event is something you cannot let go, like an online class, then you just have to finish it, right? What's important is that the like what I said earlier, the quicker it is for you to transition from negative to positive, that's your survival rate. So you have to train your mind that what I'm doing right now is just temporary. So ano ba kayang stress yun? Oh, let's say, for example, ayun nga, maybe in school, because that's what most of us are experiencing right now. Even my students in MBA are experiencing that too. So, if that stress is causing you to lose sight of your confidence or self confidence, then maybe you are in that stress for too long. You haven't really trained yourself to get out of it. Diba? The moment that you have done that event, you have completed that task or that goal, then don't wallow that in that anymore. Try to learn to transition fast. And there are four theories in learning. If I may begin, there's the conditioning, operant. What's the other two? Conditioning, operant, cognitive, and social learning. Now, as you have of the four, cognitive, operant, uh, cognitive, and then conditioning, the fourth is more important than anything because it's a conditioning of your mind. Eh. Remember when you are growing up and then some of your relatives tells you, bobo ka, hindi ka papasa. Or some of your relatives tells you naman, you're very cute kahit saksakan ka lang pangit. Di ba? So what happened there, di ba? Oh, di ka naman pogi. Pero sa labas, inaaway ka. Pero pagdating mo sa bahay, poging-pogi sila sa'yo. It builds your confidence there, right? So that the moment you step out of the house and you are with your friends, and your friends tells you you're not really that good looking, some would even belittle you by telling you saksakan ka lang pangit. That painful event tends to become shorter because you have learned to condition your mind at home, that when you get home, everybody tells you you're good looking. Same also, if you are at home, everybody tells you you're bobo ka, but when you are in school, all of your classmates believe sa'yo. And they make copy to you. No? They copy your homework assignment. That's how smart you are to them. Then immediately, you tend to transition now from home to school. Sa school, mas may confidence ka, pero sa home, wala. Di ba? So, ganun din yung pag pinag-iba natin, mas positive sa bahay, your confidence is at home, then your confidence is not so much outside. But then, the transition that you're going to do from having that negative, being in that negative, to positive, that's how long, the shorter it is, the better for you to manage and get out of that stressful event.
Thank you for that, Oliver. No? So one last question in the interest of time. Eleanor Hermosa. Hi, sir. Good afternoon. So work-related. Can you share insights on how to manage and retain employees with intent to resign due to work stress? I think this is happening especially sa mga hospital sectors. I believe no, Oliver is also a former employee of a hospital then. So for work-related.
Okay. I remember Noemi, no, was it the second speaker, Noemi, who presented CSR, and she aligned that with employee engagement. Longest time, I think about 15 years ago when I learned the value of demographics in your HRIS, because back then, 20 years ago, pen and paper pa kasi tayo, kaya hindi siya valuable yung information na kukuha natin sa demographics ng HRIS natin. Eh. But 15 years ago, it was the advent of technology, Oracle and SAP, and of course success factors. So it became useful already for us. I want you to take a look at your demographics. Take a look at your demographics, okay, and then address situations according to age. Okay, stressful situations according to age and according to marital status and with the number of kids. Kasi kung ako may anak, yung stress ko different from somebody whose stress is single. Or maybe, pero has his parents in the province. Nasa La Union. So ako naman, iba yung stress ko, having 3 kids, right? So try to look at your demographics and then come up with employee engagement activities based on 3 criteria: gender, age, and then marital status, including the number of kids. So that's how you come up with employee engagement. Now, doon sa mga magre-resign na, nag-tender ng resignation, di ba? Nakalagay doon, stressful yung work. Find out through the interview, which part of work caused them to resign because of stress. Kasi we need to understand na being a micromanager is not bad. I do not want to disagree with the first speaker, but to add more thoughts on what he said, there's nothing wrong to micromanage as long as it's short. But if you're going to micromanage for the whole duration, stay of an employee, or the whole 8 hours, then that's when micromanagement becomes bad. Because as a leader myself, as an executive myself, I need to spend time looking at the work and deadlines and projects of my immediate direct report. And I also need to know what their immediate direct reports are doing for them. Likewise, with the person under them. So, ganun parati dapat, no? So, take a look at the cause of the stress. Baka naman, man-made lang yan eh. Man-made lang yan. Ibig sabihin, wala naman talagang stress. Pero dahil petics yung isa, tinatawag pati attention ng boss niya, nag-resign siya ngayon, and then he will align his reason for resignation as a stress because of the boss. Well, in fact, petics siya, kaya parang nakaka-call yung attention niya. So try to dig into the cause of the stress. Kasi for all we know, it's not stress. Again, I do not say, I do not disagree that there's something wrong with micromanaging, but what I'm trying to say, it's good to micromanage as long as it's not that long. Now, if this the cause of the resignation of your employees, then call the attention of the boss. But if the stress itself, yung nilagay doon because of work stress, anong klaseng work stress yun? In the hospital where I came in, the most recent, we organized online counseling with a third-party vendor. Okay, bakit? Bakit outsider? Kasi pag insider, chismis labas natin doon, right? Limbawa, sa hospital, kinuha ko si Jester, Jester, nagtatrabaho rin sa hospital na yon. Kinuha ko siyang counselor. Tapos pag-uusapan namin kung ano yung resulta ng counseling niya with other employees. Even without naming names, I will find out because I know my employees. Right? So, partner it with somebody outside. Marami dyan sa labas, some nag-o-offer ng free, some nag-o-offer ng with pay. Ako, I will go for pay than free. Kasi pag pay, bayad siya, yung engagement, may commitment. Pagka free kasi, yung commitment, questionable. I'm not saying na pangit yung libre. What I'm saying is, well, a lot of people can offer the services for free, but when you don't put premium in their effort, the effort eventually, disappears. So, bigyan mo ng premium para connected pa rin yung program. Now, I'm sharing this because coming from a hospital setting, hospital kasi we are the second victim. We call it second victim. Yung pag nakikita mo yung pasyente namatayan, di ba? Nakita mo yung pasyente na relatives ng pasyente na namatayan ng pasyente, o kaya nakita mo yung pasyente na at on the way na, mamamatay na. So nasa amin yung yung impact, and we call that the second victim. So if you notice that kind of stress, that kind of emotional stress in your employee, amongst your employees, and if you are in that kind of situation, then get a third party. Pero kung hindi, work stress lang, by all means, pag basketball na lang kayo, baka mawala. No?
Yeah.
Baka nagkakasawaan na kayo sa isa't isa sa manufacturing, kasi hindi mo pwedeng mag-work from home manufacturing eh. Baka nagkakasawaan na kayo, so maybe it's not that stress after all.
Ayun, thank you for that, Oliver. No? So again, indeed, that training employees to be more resilient can have a measurable personal and professional results. Again, thank you, Oliver, for this session today, for your topic, and good afternoon.
All right, bye.
Bye.